Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do called Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and I'm back after a brief break, like 1 or 2 weeks. And I am doing another Fatal Friday video. Fatal Friday being a series where I went into the Kombat League for Mortal Kombat 1. And as a very average player, I tried to get the unique finishers for the various characters, their brutalities, their fatalities, and so on. And this week I'm going to be highlighting Peacemaker and getting his very last Day 1 finisher that I have not covered yet. A Day 1 finisher just being the kind of finishers he got whenever he was released, assuming you leveled him up. That's not counting the brutalities and animality he got after the Chaos Reigns DLC. But yeah, I only have one more to do with Peacemaker, and that brutality is going to be titled, What Does That Do? With my team of Peacemaker and the kameo Kano, I'm going to be trying to get that brutality against somebody using Raiden and the kameo Scorpion. So yeah, brutalities are just really elaborate finishers that are based on regular special attacks and combos and stuff like that. And in the case of What Does That Do? That is going to be the brutality version of one of Peacemaker's combos. More specifically, that combo is the one that ends in a command grab. So Peacemaker has a combo where he punches the opponent twice and then reaches out to them and then grabs them by the back of the head and headbutts them. I actually just ended up using that exact combo in order to keep an existing combo going and also extend it, resulting in 387 damage to Raiden. That grab and headbutt is the command grab part, where if they are just blocking, you're still going to grab them and hit them. You have to be ducking and not blocking in order to avoid that. Now, considering this was around the time that he was first released, this combo was an absolute menace to people I was going against online. Granted, Peacemaker would remain a menace online for a pretty long time after that as well, but yeah, that combo was just super useful because then you could special cancel after the headbutt and just keep your combo going for some pretty good damage. So that is what the combo normally is and how it is used, but what is the brutality version of it? Well, if you manage to beat your opponent using that combo, you can activate the brutality, which sees Peacemaker still do the headbutt against your opponent and it staggers them backwards, but then, basically out of nowhere, Peacemaker is going to pull out a missile with a grenade attached to it. He's going to toss that at the opponent before they can recover. It is going to explode and just leave behind a bunch of gore and viscera. And with Peacemaker being a guest character of Mortal Kombat, pretty much every finisher he has is going to be a reference to something from either a movie he was part of or the Peacemaker show. And it took me a long time to actually watch that show, so a lot of these finishers, what they were referencing was going completely over my head. Like his one fatality where he's shooting the opponent and a butterfly comes out of their mouth. That type of creature is a major part of Season 1 of his show, and I just had no idea what exactly it was supposed to be. That is until recently, because I finally decided to watch it, and now I actually understand what the references are. With that being said, what from the show is this a reference to? Well, in Episode 5, Peacemaker and his team are going into some sort of a warehouse, or well, I guess it's more of a factory. And they are trying to destroy the food supply for these parasite brain butterflies. And it's an action comedy, so a bunch of things don't quite go according to plan. And one of the resources that Peacemaker ends up throwing out there is this exact missile with a grenade attached to it, which then explodes, kills a bunch of the people that are infected with these brain parasites. Whenever he is doing this, this is also the same point whenever he breaks out the whole "Eat Peace Motherfuckers" line that he likes to do in this game whenever he does a variety of different finishers. In fact, I'm kind of curious if he ends up busting out that line whenever I do end up pulling off the brutality in this set. And it's just major overkill. And overall, it's a pretty funny scene. So that was a perfect candidate to become a finisher in this game. So good choice. I definitely like this reference and a lot of the other finishers for Peacemaker a lot more than some of the other characters like Homelander. And that's just because these finishers are way more distinct than a lot of his. The references are a lot more unique. Whereas with Homelander, it kind of just feels like you're lasering every opponent to death in some very slightly different way. So yeah, I can appreciate the reference and the variety. And alright, actually giving you an update on the match that was just completed. Things did not end up going my way by the time it was all over. Now, I ended up getting a fantastic start winning the very first round, but things kind of went downhill from there. The 2 rounds after that ended up being very close. Both of us were basically just one short combo away from death by the time it was all over, but that did not end up going in my favor. Now, both of us had the capability of hitting pretty hard. I ended up pulling off multiple combos that went over 300 damage, but then again, Raiden was also able to pull out at least 1 or 2 of those himself. So yeah, it was pretty close, and I was definitely not out of it at any point. I just had to make some better decisions in the future matches if I wanted to end up pulling off any sort of a victory in this set. And the round that we just completed was a really good start to reaching that aspiration because it was a pretty decisive victory. I had a lot of health left over and things were just kind of really one-sided, so yeah. More of that, please. That being said, after the first match was over, did I end up learning anything? Well, the Raiden that I was going against did have a few tendencies. They really liked going for that electric fly, they really liked going for the cartwheel kick combo that Raiden has, and they also really liked doing that. And he really liked doing that low kick combo, which you could special cancel into the special attack where Raiden grabs you with his electrified hands, raises you up in the air, and he can just kind of keep the combo going with that, especially with Scorpion as his cameo. So there were 3 things he really liked to do. And that gave me just enough knowledge to pull off a victory, and now it is Brutality Time.
Peace, motherfucker! No! Let's see Batman do that.
Brutality! Peacemaker wins.
And there it was, that was the What Does That Do brutality for Peacemaker. And we even got the canonical line while doing it, "Eat peace, motherfucker." Very, very nice, and I actually like that little detail at the very end that Peacemaker almost completely screws up and forgets to do the force field that was the only thing really protecting him from also being blown up. I actually don't remember that being part of the shows. That might be a detail that was specifically added just for this game, but I do really like the personality behind it. Because the character of Peacemaker does tend to make a lot of mistakes, and that is just pretty on brand for him. So just like that, we are tied up in the set. Raiden has won 1 match, I have won another, so whoever wins this one is going to win the entire set. If I get the opportunity, I'm going to try going for that brutality one more time just to kind of maximize the amount of times I end up pulling it off. But full disclosure, I also was trying to get some other brutalities as well around this time, which kind of made this the backup brutality because whenever going into these matches in the Kombat League, if I end up with a really good life lead or something like that, I will typically mess around and try to get one of the more difficult brutalities for a character, and if it does not look like I'm going to be able to get that more difficult brutality, then I will fall back onto one of the ones that were just easier to get. Whenever it comes to easier brutalities, I typically categorize the throw brutalities as really easy because you can kind of get those without any real big setup like distance requirements or something like that. And with this being a command grab combo, all I had to do was land the very last hit of the combo, the actual grab, and you were going to get the brutality, so it's also a pretty easy one. So what was the more difficult one that I was fishing for in this set? Well, I believe that is going to be either Kano's knife throwing brutality or the wait for it brutality, which is the brutality version of Peacemaker's gunshot, both of which have some distance requirements behind them, which makes them a little bit more difficult to get, especially Kano's brutality because that requires you to be at full screen, which is never a fun requirement to have with one of these brutalities because if your opponent wants to win, they're going to be coming after you, so keeping them at full screen is not the easiest thing to do. But here I am talking about getting really difficult brutalities like I'm going to be guaranteed to get them, and I am definitely not unless I end up winning this very last round, which I could definitely end up losing because now Raiden has the life lead and he's already ripped off one 400 plus damage combo against me in this match alone, and yeah, perhaps I'm getting a little bit overzealous here. Or perhaps I go for the command grab combo and then the fatal blow guaranteeing me the victory.
That might be overkill.
Quitality. Peacemaker wins.
Well, you know what? We might not have gotten an additional brutality, but we at least got a quitality. Because, yeah, my opponent quit basically probably the moment that fatal blow landed, and he said, screw this, I'm out. Oh my goodness, that's great. I can only imagine how mad he was when that command grab actually landed and then the fatal blow came out right after, because I was really worried he was just going to uppercut me again because he did that the very last time I tried going for that combo, so I figured he was just going to keep calling me out on it, but I was going to go for it anyway just in case, and well, here we are. That is freaking awesome, and yeah, even though you quit, thank you to the random Raiden opponent that I got in the Kombat League. That set was really close. It came all the way down to a third and final match and a third and final round, and I only ended up winning off of a desperation fatal blow combo. I just happened to get it, so I don't know if we won that in style, but we definitely got some drama and excitement from that victory. I'll go ahead and start wrapping things up here, and I'll make sure I show the brutality one more time at the very end of this outro. That way we can see it one more time before we part ways on this Fatal Friday, especially since I only got the brutality once. So yeah, that does it for all the Day 1 Peacemaker finishers. I could still, I guess, end up pulling out Peacemaker if I pair him with a kameo I want to do a finisher for, or if I end up going back into the Kombat League here in the modern day and trying to go get his new brutalities or his animality. But for right now, the character of Peacemaker, they are done for me. They are out of the rotation. And yeah, Peacemaker was a really fun character, and I think his finishers were quite entertaining and varied. I think the only complaint you could give about Peacemaker was in those early days, he was kind of really busted. I don't think that's too much of a stretch to say. He was very frequently used in tournaments, and early on, especially for people who were just seeing the character for the first time and not knowing stuff like his command grab combo or his fatal blow being a low attack. Yeah, he had a lot of different tools to just kind of wreak havoc on the opponent. Of the guest characters, though, he's probably one of my favorites in this game, right up there with Omni-Man. I wasn't the biggest fan of Homelander, but I mean, he's good. And I haven't really messed around too much with Conan the Barbarian or the T-1000, or who's the other one? Oh right, Ghostface. Ghostface is now a guest character too. Maybe I'll end up playing as them eventually, because I did finally end up getting the Chaos Reigns DLC because it was finally cheap enough to where I was okay paying for it, because I was not going to pay full price for that. So who knows what the future holds. Maybe we'll have more Peacemaker, maybe we'll have some more guest characters, but for right now, this is going to be the conclusion of my Fatal Friday. Thank you for checking out this video for this long. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to check out the other finisher videos I have on the Thor's Entertainment channel. Take care. Hopefully I will see you next time.
Peace, motherfucker.
No.
Let's see Batman do that.
Brutality. Peacemaker wins.